now when I remove the solo, this is what you get. So let me just open every other one. Two elements that are very hard to mix is number one, drums, and then BGVs. Most of the times when you hear live streaming audio or you hear FOH mix, BGVs are not always together. So someone asked a question, is it not possible to have BGV sounding as though it is a post-production? Can't we have that post-production result in real-time application of live sound, like when we have 6 BGVs, I mean good BGVs singing, they are together, they are sounding together. It's actually possible. There are a few things you need to understand about BGVs. Now, if these 6 persons should sing, obviously you'll be hearing 1 or 2 accent-related effects. I'm not saying it's a challenge, it's actually an effect. And if these 6 persons should sing the same song, you are going to have different type of pronunciation. So that is just one part. 6 persons has different voice texture, different volume level, different dynamics, and different way they handle microphones. All these things actually pose sound-related issues in terms of projection to the mix. We also have people among these BGVs that some are not really confident in singing out, in projecting. So there are other reasons that you always encounter as a mix engineer that makes the coupling of this BGV not to be firm. So I am actually here today to just share with you some of these techniques. So this was part of the rehearsals for the Move, a previous program that was organized by Bray Odede in Port Harcourt. So I extracted this MultiTrack from that. We had 13 BGVs here that we are singing that day. So like I was saying, I'm using Wing right now, and it came with one sweet feature where you can send channel to bus and you can send bus to another bus. So right now I created a bus known as BGV bus. So what I did was to send all BGV group into this bus. But prior to that, there was one challenge that I had to overcome. So one of it is, each time we have BGV singing, they don't really project. So there's this wave designer that I added that corrected that. I worked on the transient and on the attack. So even when they sing soft, this guy is a combination of expander and gate mechanism together as one. So the expander part tend to push the part that they are singing out, and it kind of duck this other part that has noise floor from stage monitor. So I changed the gate behavior of this guy to waves designer. It's actually in every channel. This actually helped me to tame each BGV, to EQ each BGV and compress them before sending them to the bus. And then from the bus, there are 4 different processors that address the dynamics, the texture in terms of EQ, and then I think the compounding or so. Then we have a doubler and effect. Actually, it also came with this console. So on the channel, I mounted a reverb that will make them a little bit wet. So at the end of the day, I master the bus and then send it to left and right. And so that's why we can hear. Whatever you're hearing now is not stems. They actually sounded like this naturally. But of course, I had to enhance. It doesn't mean that BGV that is very poor will be salvaged to have this kind of result. No. The principle of garbage in, garbage out still holds true. If you are singing very poor, that's your poor sound can be amplified 100 times in the place of post-production. So these guys are good, like they are very good. So one thing I also want you guys to achieve with BGV is this togetherness. There's the glue part of the BGV that you cannot separate element, each candidate of background vocals. When you have 3 members of BGV, there's a way you tame and you manage the 3 of them to sound together. And so the more BGVs you have, the better this process becomes possible. So try as much as possible as a mix engineer, as a live sound engineer that is currently managing a sound in the church, to always be with the BGVs. When they are abusing the use of mic, please be there to correct them in love. If the placement of mic is an issue for them, try do it again with love. In this institution, we are servant leader. Music team, they are like our kings and prince. So we need to treat them tenderly in love, right? And when you do that, you are going to get premium results. And there's a way I correct people. In fact, we joke. And as they are laughing and they're smiling, they are doing it with happiness because the respect I show them attracts this kind of result. So if you want to get very good result from them, don't squeeze your face. Just try as much as possible to make sure they are your friends. Yeah, so BGV need a whole lot of work, from microphone handling to the way you sing and to the way all of you are united in texture. It is a whole lot of work, which I believe with time we are going to get the best. All right, so the second part of processing here, like I said earlier, two elements that are very hard to mix is number one, drums, and then BGVs. So for drums, you can as well create a group, a bus, where you mix individually and send. There are a lot of people with different approach. Some will prefer to create kick bus that takes care of kick in, kick out. They will process that and keep. We have snare drum that also takes care of top, bottom. Then we have toms that handles all the toms. Then overhead takes care of hi-hat and then overhead mic. So in all, we always have like 4 different group: kick, snare, toms, overhead. So these guys now would send again all these elements to another bus, which is what? That should be like a third degree. The first degree is elements you mix raw, like kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, hi-hat, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3, tom 4, floor 1, floor 2, overhead, maybe room left, room right, all put together. These are just what? Elements, individual elements. So from there, it goes to sub drum mix, which is kick, snare, toms, overhead. From the 4 again, some guys will actually send it to drum as a bus. So it's from drum as a bus that will now reroute it to left and right. What I just explained is still possible with the mixer, but I just want to take it simple for now, where we group all elements in drums as one and send it to a bus. So in the bus now, we apply, so let me mute everything. So again, in the bus, we have okay. So in drum bus, these are the channels. These are the plugins that we put from here. So the first one is there's this BDX 560 ease compression that's I mounted on this. Again, this is to super glue everything in the drums as one. So after this, there's this Soul G compression, but it's actually a bus compression from Neve, I guess. So it's also very important. Is it from Neve or from SSL? One of the two. There's an emulation of their plugin. So this is really good for bus processing, not channel strips, for bus processing, because in bus, everything is working simultaneously. There are drums ranging from kick, snare, hi-hat, overhead, toms, activity that must evenly be tamed with a compression that is built to handle pressure emanating from bus, right? So that's why we have this guy here. So this is the second what? Processor. So we have this. Okay, no, yeah, this is one of the processors. So now in Wings, it's really possible to mount one plugin or one insert plugin that has 3 different processors. So in this case, there's this plugin that I mounted on drum bus. So there's a warm plugin that has a lot of stuff on board. So I believe this one is to have some form of saturation, tape saturation effect to the drum as a group. So we just dial little of that into the drum bus. So after which we have an EQ. So the EQ is to excite the entire drum and also tame some part of the mid frequency that is too much. And so there's a little boost on the lower end of the frequency to get the depth of the whole drum spectrum. So the last part of this addresses the dynamics. So can you see, if you are going to count the plugin on drums bus alone, let's start from the top. So we have a compressor, which is one. So we have warm processor from Soul. I believe this is from either SSL or NIF package. That's the second part. Number three, we have EQ. This is also from NIF. The name is Even 84. So we also have Dynamics, which is what? 4. So when you come down again, there's this Paul Tech EQ. For as many of you that are familiar with that stuff, you can really use it. This is what I mounted. And from the graph, you can see that I shaved some form of high frequency so that the hi-hat, overhead, and some bright part of the toms, kick, snare as well, will be silk in the production. That is it. So that's why you are hearing this sound as well. So now when I remove the solo, this is what you get. So let me just open every other one. So now this is the 5th processor. So at the end of the day, there's a little stereo imaging, stereo field. Just had to spread the entire drum. Actually, this is what is even preventing me from getting LV1 wave. I just say for now, let me use these guys, these plugins and processor to practice. And so that's remind me about one thing you have to do as an audio engineer. There are tons of plugins and processors out there. If you can dedicate 1 week to study each one, I believe you'll be able to optimize and maximize functionality of each processor. Do not just rush by just mounting plugin and just do little tweak. It can actually perform better than the result you are getting right now. So that when you scale up in your hardware use, you appreciate what is given. For instance, I don't really have Wave right now. LV1 Wave console, I don't have it. I'm using this console to practice. When channel is communicating with buses, there are different type of buses, which you have to understand the communication pattern. And so when you are doing too much of processing, you might not achieve this kind of hardware related effect. There's another thing truly that I always want to avoid, which is too much of synthetic effect. When vocal is sounding like a robot or drums is sounding as if it's an electric sound, or your general mix is sounding as if it's a studio recording, I'm trying to really avoid that. So that's why when you solo the BGVs, it has some element of bleeds. There are bleeds that are allowed, that are permitted in live sound. When you solo, you might not really like that sound, but when you complement each other together, it will sound very beautiful. And that's what I did here. summary, when you succeeded in handling your drum boss, your vocal boss, I believe every other thing is just an embellishment. Once you push bass guitar, push E guitar, push keys, and you're able to dynamically tame them, your sound is good.